You know, I just read, I think this morning, a quote from Rumi about music. And I didn't know Rumi, my favorite 13th century mystic, loved music so much. But he said, don't worry about saving these songs. Don't worry if one of your instruments breaks. It doesn't matter. We have fallen into a place where everything is music. And I think we heard by this music that music is the blending of instruments, the blending of voices, to bring a piece together that opens our hearts and our minds and brings us together. And that's what harmony is. Harmony is when you're in right relationship with the universe. And I like the first song that was United We Stand, because unity really equates with harmony. Because when we understand, we really understand that harmony means truly recognizing that God is all there is. There is only one, and one unity, and we're all part of that. When we really realize that at the core of our being, we can be in harmony with life. But when we don't realize that, we can look at life, and because it's not turning out the way we want it to be, does anybody know about that right now? It's not quite the way we think it should be in our human minds. Then we get ourselves out of that place of harmony into a place of discord and unhappiness and strife. But I want to tell you something. Here's the good news after all that. We can create harmony out of any chaos. As humans, we can do that if we get our mind and our hearts straight, in that straight alignment. Universal harmony, harmony is a divine quality. That's why I said the consciousness that God is all there is, and we're in unity with all that. Universal harmony is that great rhythm of life where everything works in balance together. In fact, the ancient philosophers thought that there was music of the spheres. They call it the harmony of the spheres, that the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets all work together and like music. In fact, Pythagoras and his followers did think that they created the sound of music. Music, because they were all working together in that harmonious relationship. God cannot create conflict. God cannot live in discord. It would destroy itself. Our world is in perfect harmony. It's the people in it that aren't. We get it messed up. So, this is not a new consciousness. And you mentioned this in your reading from Mark Nepo, Kathy. But if we would just think back, let's just go back like thousands of years, maybe 3,000 years, to ancient China. And the Chinese philosophy had a symbol, which you'll all recognize, and it's very interesting that all of us up here on stage wore black and white, because this is the yin and yang symbol. And it's a symbol of dualism, right? Black and white, dualism. There's a line down the middle, but it's contained in the circle. And actually their philosophy, the Chinese philosophy from 3000 BC, the yin-yang, black, white, male, female, good, bad, yes, no, sick, health, success, failure, all that truly is about the interrelatedness of the opposites of life. That the opposites need each other for their own definition and to understand each other and to live more fully. It's about their interrelatedness that makes life meaningful. What have we done with the pairs of opposites? We make things that aren't like us wrong, things that are different bad. What are we thinking? I mean, this isn't new 3,000 years ago. If we go just 1,000 years later and move over to India and listen to the great holy scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a 700-verse scripture, which is their holy book. 700 verses, my goodness. But it talks about the same thing. It's a story of, and it starts on a battleground where there's a warrior prince, Arjuna, and he is talking to his chariot driver, the charioteer. And the charioteer happens to be Lord Krishna. And he's asking him for spiritual guidance about really the difficult challenges in life. And Krishna says, when you live in the pair of opposites, you will never be at peace. And the Gita goes on to explain it's the pair of opposites, once again, where we know about life, that we can define ourselves in things. It gives us meaning and definition to life. It's not something to be avoided. What have we done? Why do we make things that are different so wrong? It's because we don't understand them. But we need to take time to understand and to listen. If we think of that bigger picture, I talk about my Sufi mystics all the time. Out beyond right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. A field. That field is the field of harmony and understanding and connection and unity. And my other wonderful mystic buddy is Hafez. And he has a beautiful poem, I have learned so much from God. And I think that's why we're here. Whatever you call that universal infinite intelligence, we learn so much from that creativeness, that infinite creativity, that I can no longer call myself a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Jew. The truth has revealed so much to me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, even pure soul. Love has befriended Hafez so deeply. It has freed me and cleared my mind of any image or thought I've ever had. That total oneness, that total letting go, surrender, is what we talk about, the true harmony. And it doesn't mean we don't live as unique, special individuals. It means we're unique, we're different, we're special, each and every one of us. In fact, if we're going to live in true harmony, we've got to think really well of ourselves. We have to learn so much about ourselves, all our beautiful gifts and all our frailties. We have to have that understanding of who we are very, very deeply. That in all the whole package of ourselves, the beauty and the beast within us, that we are an expression of God. We are that. We are the hands and feet, the love, the light, the goodness of spirit, and we are here to express ourselves. We are created to be creators. But what we create is what defines if we create harmony or not, how we see life, if we look at the problems and challenges as something that really cause us problems or a greater understanding. There's a book of Ernest Holmes, and Ernest Holmes, one of the contemporaries that talks about these pairs of opposites, he says opposites are the way our one power is used. There's only one power, and the opposites are just the different way we use it. And he has a page, a chapter in one of his books, How to Change Your Life, that is called How to Find Harmony. But actually, in that whole, it's only 2 paragraphs, this particular piece I'd like to read, but it doesn't mention the word harmony once. But it's how to find harmony. He said, you live in a house of God. So right there, we have to lift our consciousness from thinking we live just on this human plane right here. What we live in the house of God, there's so much more that we can't see. And that's what you were reading about, Kathy. There's so much more going on in this house of God. And if we can just realize that, if we can lift our consciousness from this consciousness of separation to the bigger place, the expanded consciousness of oneness. So we live in this house of God, as do all other people. The house of God is filled with people of divine origin, where divinity may be revealed to us if we allow it. We can see the divinity in others if we allow it. We don't have to see it, it's our choice, but it's there. And if we look at the divinity in them, they tend to see it in us, because that's the way life works. What we put out there is what comes back to us. Now, it might not come right at that same time, but what we put out there comes back. So if we've chosen to see through the eyes of harmony, oneness, we're all in this together, then that's what comes back to us. In the house of God, there is no jealousy, no littleness, no meanness. We're working on that, aren't we? I mean, we're working on it, because we're works in process, all of us. It's a household of joy, a place of happiness and contentment. There is warmth, color, and beauty. Seeing in this light our negative earthly experiences and associations, we realize it's what we've made them and how much better things would be if we'd left it in God's hands. Life would be so much better, so much more harmonious if we just let Spirit do that co-creative work through us. And so, in the chapter, Ernest Holmes asked us to say, I know that in this house of experience in which I live, the host is God, and all people are guests. And the only time he mentions it, he said, I rejoice in the divine harmony which surrounds me. Come on, come on, come on. I rejoice in the divine harmony which surrounds me. So we have to live in that awareness that there's something so much more going on. You know, we often forget, because we do get so cynical and skeptical, because life isn't the way we really feel it should be. And my gosh, right now it's so hard with so much going on. Well, why is it like this? You know, we get really out of sync with the divine flow of life, because goodness, love, and beauty are always flowing through us. We stop it with those same things that Ernest Holmes mentioned. We stop it when we get too selfish. We stop it when we judge too much and we point the finger too much. We stop that flow, but it's always there. There's a beauty that always wants to be recognized in us, no matter how bad things get on the outside. There's that place in us that really wants to see things that are beautiful and loving. There's a place in us right now that wants that, but we have to start inviting love and beauty into our lives. We have to start inviting it in. Okay, I'll just ask you a question. Is there any place in your life that you feel a little bit of discord or strife? Okay, how many places? Because there's a little practice we can do. There's a practice. Now, don't take them all at once, because that's a lot. But if you can just think of one place right now in your life that you're feeling a little bit of, maybe a lot of, I don't know, just the place that first comes to you. I don't know, I just got it as a pit in my stomach. I could feel it. I was like, oh yeah. So if that moment, if we just have the awareness that we can choose, up-level our mind and our thought. It takes work. It's working in harmony. It's there, but we've got to work with it. So if we take that situation and say, right now, I bring love to support this situation. Right now. So, bring love. We uplift ourselves to bring love to support this situation. But now we have to define that love, because, some of us can be very loving with a lot of conditions on our love. I'll love you if, I love you when, I love you how. But I mean love that's the purity of spirit, that kind of love. I bring God's love into this situation right now to support it. Because this love includes everyone and everything. I can't be separating someone when I bring this love in, because it supports everyone and everything, and it hurts no one. And this love I'm talking about, wow, it's very courageous. It's not wimpy. It's very courageous, but it's calm and confident. And if we switch our minds to be thinking about that instead of the discord and the problems, they get better, right? They get better. The things change when we do that, because we have the power to change things. In our life, as I said, we need to invite in love and beauty to situations. And John O'Donohue, in his book Beauty, said, always hold something beautiful in your heart, because when your eyes are dulled, or sometimes blind, they've gotten there just from the pain and hurt of this physical world. There's always in your heart something beautiful that wants to reignite that music of the universe, the song of the spheres, the harmony that's always there. It's for us. We can choose right now. So in this time, where things seem so difficult and hard at times, we can choose to bring things together. I will never let go of the thought of Ernest Holmes walking into any room, and before he'd get up and speak, he would consciously put his arms around everybody. He didn't have anybody fill in a little form and say, well, who are you, where do you come from, what do you believe, what's your political status, how old are you? He didn't care. He just put his arms around everyone. So we want to start practicing doing that in our own minds, even if it's just in our minds and our actions aren't quite there yet. Instead of pushing people away because of certain differences, that we start putting our arms out and bringing people together. You and I know it's a hard call, but we're called to see the beauty in one another, see the love in one another, but we have to know it first in ourselves. And we know that when we really touch that expression of God. You know, it was Meister Eckhart who said, sometimes we forget, but it's so important we remember that our soul has two faces. One that looks down on our earthly life, and that's important. We need to do that, to know what's going on and keep connected and get all the learning and lessons and sharing and teaching that we are to do here. But the other face of our soul is turned up to the divine presence. And he ends that by saying, and this place, this view of life is where we are kissed by God. And some of us, darn it, just aren't getting enough kisses right now. We're just not getting enough kisses because we want them the way we want them, you know, where we could sit in that presence. And it's not to be separate. Again, that's the flow of keeping a full view of life, because our life is totally braided with all these different experiences, all these opposites. And it's our job to embrace them all, to keep that life so beautiful. So when you leave today, think of one place that you can really go out and let love support the situation, where you can really do something to find beauty in something that's challenging and difficult. Because the creative beings that we are here to create a new understanding and a new way of living. I'm going to invite you to just join me as we come together. Just put your feet on the floor and let's just close this day, this last day of January, as we enter into the month of February and see a new opening, that we do so with a prayer of acceptance, of awareness, of understanding and faith, that in this moment right here where we are together, whether we're together physically, through video, or we're just there in consciousness, that we are here together with a recognition and knowing of our spiritual awakening to know and embrace that God is all there is. This energy, this creative essence, this intelligence, this power for good that is here right now, available to every one of us, as we open ourselves to recognize and know that we are one with this infinite presence of goodness right here. There's nothing we need to do except open ourselves to be available to that flow of goodness right here, right now, in this moment. It's now. It's here. We are here in this moment together to make a change, to uplift, to bring the problems into a greater light, to bring discord into a greater peace, to know that out of anything we can bring a harmonious thought, a loving experience, and see a beautiful understanding that we are in this life as students, as teachers, to learn, to share, to grow, and to become the light and love of God and goodness in expression. And as we have this consciousness in our mind right now, we use this energy to just, in our heart mind, we embrace the people in our immediate life, in our community, in our expanded life, and in the world. Because every single one is beautiful in their own unique expression. We release this consciousness to the infinite mind of good, of God, of love that only knows to say yes. We say, thank you, God, for all that is and all that is yet to be. And so it is. God bless you all. I love you.